on to my Facebook and make sure that we're live. Lower my volume on this phone. I'm so glad I had this extra phone because I can hear so good on this one. Aha, yes, we are live. Now I have to edit post, make it public, boom, chakalaka, save. All right, so here we go. What's up, you guys? Hey, everybody. It's your girl, Nicole, with Discovering Nicole. I know I was live this morning, so we're going to have a double live today. This morning, I was doing a live stream, just kind of like getting ready for the day. But today, like I told you guys the other day, we're going to have a guest speaker. My friend Melissa is going to come join us and share her story and some of her daughter Angel's story. Melissa is also in recovery. And her daughter, Angel, passed away last year from, it was just like it was tragic. It was unexpected. And it was just really, really sad. Her daughter passed away from an overdose. And so she's going to come on and she's going to share with us about her own recovery journey. And then she's also going to share with us a little bit about Angel's story and what happened with Angel. So what I would like to do right now before I bring Melissa on is, would you guys please help me out? Everybody that comes into the stream, please share this video with your friends, share it with other people that are in recovery, and I am going to do the same. That way we can get everybody in here that wants to hear Melissa's story before we get started, so that way nobody misses any parts of her story. I just got back from my mother-in-law's house, and we had spaghetti and garlic bread and cheesecake, and it was delicious. And so I'm in a little bit of a food coma. And then I noticed, you guys, when I signed on to my Amazon Prime account, I noticed that Long Legs is out, or we can rent it now. And so I don't know if you guys are like horror movie fans like I am, but I am obsessed with scary movies. So after we get done hearing Melissa's story, I'm going to go watch Long Legs. And y'all already know I'm going to give you the full loading down whether or not it was really scary after I'm done watching it, because it has been hyped up so much that I'm expecting it to be like amazing. So like I said, please help me by sharing this video out, sharing it into your Facebook groups, sharing it into your recovery groups, sharing it over on your own Facebook accounts. That's how we're able to get the message out and help more people, is by helping each other share. And if you guys have videos that y'all want me to share, y'all know y'all are all more than willing to send me your live streams and videos, or come and post them in my personal recovery Facebook group, which is Discovering Recovery with Nicole. I love helping promote other people, and that's kind of how I got to reaching out to Melissa. So we follow each other on TikTok. And Melissa is starting to dabble into getting onto other social media. She's starting to build a YouTube channel. She's already built her TikTok account. And so when I saw her talking about wanting to build her YouTube channel, y'all know I'm all about helping other people who are trying to step into other social medias that maybe I already have got an established following on. And so I thought that this would be a great way to give her a little boost up by sharing her story over on my YouTube channel. So I really appreciate you guys for sharing the video out. As you come in, let us know if you're in recovery. Drop your sobriety date in the comment section. Let me know what state you're from. If you're not in recovery, that's okay too. Okay, if you're struggling with using and you just want to sit and listen, there's nothing to be ashamed of. Nobody here is going to judge you. If you're somebody who's practicing harm reduction, if you're moderating, if you've lessened the amount of substances that you're using, or even if you're just thinking about doing that and you're taking the steps towards that, we are here to support you. You guys know I am on Suboxone personally myself in my recovery journey, and I will not let anybody talk down to people in this community and in my community. We support all pathways to recovery: plant medicine, MAT, abstinence-based. If you are a religious believer, we support you. If you are moderating, we support you. If you practice harm reduction, we support you. If you're still actively using, and we are supporting you. If you're thinking about stopping, we support you where you're at. So there's no judgment here. Everybody is welcome. Okay. And keep that in mind when you're commenting back and forth with each other, that we don't know where other people are at in their mindset. And it's a lot easier to just be kind to somebody and uplifting to somebody than it is to be judgmental or rude to somebody, you know? Okay. Enough babbling, Nicole. I've said enough for the beginning. Let's get Melissa on the camera. Doot, doot. Hey, girl.
Hey,
Can you hear me good?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, cool. I hear you perfect. Okay, you guys, this is Melissa. Melissa, I'm so grateful to have you on today. Like I was telling everybody, I found Melissa because her daughter was actually struggling with addiction, and I had started to follow Melissa on TikTok because Melissa was sharing her experience of loving someone that was struggling with addiction, but she also shares a lot about her own struggles with her past history. She's been sober for a long time. So, Melissa, will you share a little bit share with us first how long you've been sober, what you got sober from? I'm pretty sure you were like me and your drug of choice was meth, right?
Yes.
Okay. And share with us what you got sober from, how long you've been sober, and then just like how did you get into using? So I'm going to let you start there, and I'll be quiet. If I have any questions, I'm just going to ask you, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, so I first started using when I was around 20, and my best friend was killed by a drunk driver. She had left behind two kids, a 3-year-old and a 4-month-old. And I started helping her husband take care of them. And unfortunately, me and her husband just could not cope with the grief, and we both started using. I didn't even know what cocaine looked like at that point. That's what I had started with. But I learned real quickly. And
How old were you when this happened? How old were you?
about 20.
Okay. So you didn't use drugs your whole childhood up until 20 years old.
Girl, I didn't even know what cocaine looked like.
Damn. Were you like, did your mom like raise you up in like a sheltered environment? Or did you live with your parents? How was that?
I lived with my dad. They were divorced, but I smoked weed. But my mom, she's from Argentina, Buenos Aires, and my dad is Mexican, and neither one of them have ever done drugs. You know, my mom in particular, she never even smoked pot. To her, pot was on the same level as cocaine or crack. Like it was, yeah, yeah.
I feel like a lot of people who are in different cultures, like especially Spanish cultures, they're either on one end of the spectrum where they are drinking alcohol, smoking weed, going to prison, or the whole other end of the spectrum where it's like you don't touch anything like that, and if you do, it's like a sign of weakness. You know what I mean?
Right. Yes, 100%. It was something we didn't even discuss, and then I
Yeah.
was just like, "Hi."
So your friend ended up passing away, and that's when you first started using cocaine. Did somebody come over and bring it to you? Were you guys at a party? How did that happen?
So I honestly don't even remember how I first initially started using. What I do remember is that we were all at a party, me and her husband, and he like oddly made me go away. And it was like so awkward and weird. It was so clear that he wanted me out of this garage, right? And so I was outside, and then I'm like, wait, why the fuck does he want me out of here so bad? So I come back in, I'm like, what's going on? And as soon as I walk in, he's doing a line of coke. And we got into an argument about it, you shouldn't be doing that. And I don't know what happened, but somehow I started doing it too.
Curiosity.
So,
Curiosity. And it's because, something similar happened to me as well, where they told me that I needed to not or be there. I needed to go away. And then when I came in the room, everybody was doing it. And so that made me think, well, y'all are doing it. I'm missing out on something. You know what I mean? Like, why are you trying to keep me from having fun too? It almost made me want to do it more. And so I can totally understand like having the curiosity and starting to do it. When you first started using cocaine, were you hooked immediately, or was it something that you had to work up to?
Honestly, I would say it was immediate. And only because I was in such a depressive state. Like I really did not want to live. Like the grief was very strong. It was a very hard time. It took it away, kind of.
Yeah.
Like it made you not think about it so much. Like it truly did. And that is what truly got me hooked. That's what really did it for me, is once I saw that my mental state could be altered for a little bit, and I could be not okay, but dealing with it. That's what really got me hooked, for sure.
So I'm kind of going to veer off from I'm going to talk about where you're at right now, just because you brought this up about grief. So since Angel's passing, have you felt that feeling like, oh my gosh, I could go use and it would get rid of this feeling? It would take this grief away from me?
So I honestly have not.
Good. That makes me feel so much better, because I'm like, I could never imagine how you feel. And so I would feel like I might think that way, you know?
Yeah. And you would think, and it was kind of like a worry, like at first. I think some people kind of had it in their head, like, oh, I hope she's going to be okay. But honestly, when she first died, I'm not a drinker. I've never been a drinker. I couldn't tell you how many people were trying to get me to drink. Here, just have a drink. Here, just have a drink. And every time they do that, I'd be like, no, I'm okay. Like, I just don't think that's the smartest idea. Let's not start a problem. So yeah, I don't know how, but I haven't had the urge, thank God.
Yeah. So after you started using cocaine, what transitioned you to other different stimulants? Like, was it just a gradual thing you worked up to? Because I feel like there's such a stigma. Well, there's stigma around all drugs, but crack and methamphetamine, I feel like people really look down on those drugs. Like, they call us crackheads or they call us tweakers. And so what made you start using other stimulants like methamphetamine?
I actually got sober off of cocaine.
Uh-huh.
So, and I was very freshly sober. That lasted, I'd say, about 2 years. I was very freshly sober, and I met what would be my soon-to-be husband, my now ex-husband, the father of Angel and my kids. And we met and got married very rapidly. I mean, like within a month, maybe 2 months. I think it was a month. And he made meth.
Wow. Oh, this is going to be a great story. So you married the dope cook. You are my kind of girl. I would have been right there with you.
I was just like, you know what? This is good. My kids to this day, they're like, how the hell did you end up with that? And I'm like,
I don't know where I missed that in your story. I know you've talked about this on TikTok before, but you have no idea. Whenever I was in active addiction, I went straight to living with the cook. I was like standing there beside him, like I was a sous chef in a restaurant or something,
Yeah, for real.
So you guys, obviously y'all loved each other, but did he just do it in front of you and you knew that's what time it was? Or was it something he was trying to keep from you? Tell me about that.
He was very open about it, but he never, we were married for at least 10 years or more. And the first 5 years were like that. And I never once saw him make it or anything. He always kept it very far away from me on that aspect. And using it, and it's going to sound a little dumb when I say this, but it's the truth. Okay. So I never had access to so much that I couldn't perform my daily activities. That doesn't necessarily mean that I went to work, because I wouldn't leave the house. I didn't like to leave the house if I was high. I'd like to be just at home. But he always made sure, I showered, I brushed my teeth. He never made sure I was always functioning in the house enough. He would never give me too much. If he wasn't home, I couldn't get it at all. So like you said, you like to go over to the dope, right? Everybody likes to go over to the dope man's house, right? So a lot of times we'd be separated and he would leave. And he'd be shacked up with other people at the dope man's house, right?
Yeah.
He would cut me off. I wouldn't be able to get it. So for those periods of doing meth for those 5 years, I would go from doing it with him, and then he'd be gone for 4 months and I'd be sober, and then, so on. So I'd get pregnant, I'd get sober, have the baby, he'd be gone, I'd be sober until he come, type thing. But yeah.
So basically he was in control of it. He would make sure. Okay. See, I could not hang. That would make me so mad. I would be like, you're out of here. I got to find me a man that'll just leave it laying around because I can't kick it with you no more. But that brings up another really important point. So you were able to stop using during your pregnancies. I have so much respect for you for that, because I was just a shit show and I did not do that. And so whenever I hear other women share about them being able to stop using during pregnancy, like I have so much respect for you, because that's what I should have done. If I could go back, I think about it every single day. If I could go back and change it, I would absolutely 100% change it.
Yes, of course you would. And it wasn't you, it was the disease. And to be honest, I don't know how I did either. I don't know, because it was easier for me with meth than it was with cocaine. I will tell you that. It was easier for me to be able to stop than it was the cocaine. But I don't know how I was able to, but I sure did. I mean, obviously, when you first get pregnant, you got to figure I had to have been using, you know what I mean? I had to have had it in me. But I've always known I was pregnant, like, immediately. I'm immediately throwing up. So I just would immediately stop. And no blood ever, there was never any problem with the kids, anything like that. So I got lucky. I got very, very lucky. I do think it might have affected a little bit of Angel's pregnancy, to be honest, because at first they thought I wasn't pregnant. My hormone level was reading very low. So they were having me go into the hospital every 2 days to get blood, and they were checking my HCG levels. But I was pregnant, and I've always wondered if that had anything to do with it, because
I think about that all the time with my little boy, just because, like, he has anxiety now. But I also think back to when I was a little girl, and I was very anxious as a little girl too. So I do realize that, he could just have that because he inherited that kind of mental health issue from me. But then I also, because of mom guilting, I think, oh, well, it's probably because I was using stimulants during that time. And so, I hate even thinking about it, because it's like, I made so many mistakes. I just keep on thinking, I wish I could go back.
Yeah. How
long were you and him together before y'all separated?
Yeah. We were probably married for about 11 years.
Oh, wow. Y'all were together for a long time. What made you decide to get sober? Did you have to leave him to get sober?
No, actually, well, I got sober first. So sometime around circa 2006. At that point, he had been in and out of the house so much, and I had been over it. I had just been over it. So my using it had decreased greatly because he was gone more than he was home. I mean, we had gotten to the point where Aiden, my 19-year-old now, he was just born. And I had my landlord take Danny off the lease. I changed the locks. I went and got a job. Like, I just was over it. So I got sober then by myself, just doing that.
And you've been sober ever since that time? All the way back then?
Off meth and cocaine. Yes. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I haven't dabbled with certain things. So, like, for instance, and I do not talk about this. It's probably the first time I'm talking about this part.
Yeah, feel free. It don't matter to me. I'm not going to judge you.
Yeah. Me neither.
We celebrate all positive change here.
Yeah.
I do want to say this. Like, I realize that there's, like, different situations with addiction. Some people are addicted to drugs, but they maybe drink wine on occasion or have a beer. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and so I don't have anything against anybody that does that. Me and my husband, when we go on vacation, I'll have a margarita at a Mexican restaurant on a vacation once a year, and that's like my little woohoo, you know, that's like me doing the most is having a margarita.
Yeah, me too. Actually, I don't want alcohol be doing something to me. I can't handle it. I'm like, no, I don't want to feel like that, ma'am. Thank you. No, one and done. Sometimes
the older I get, the harder it is to, like, even drink at one drink, because, like, I can't bounce back. I, like, get a headache and everything from it almost immediately.
Me too. I immediately get drunk. Like
Yeah.
I take a couple sips and my body's buzzing. I'm like, what is happening? It's the only thing that I'm that low tolerance with.
So
But
you've been able, tell me what you were saying before. You've stayed sober from the meth and cocaine, but go ahead. I'm listening.
in probably around 2018, I met my ex that I dated for about 6 years. He would do Molly once in a
Okay, yeah.
while. So we would do that. But when I tell you once in a while, and at that point I hadn't touched literally anything for so many years. And it was kind of like the way he put it to me, like, oh, it's fine. And da-da-da. But to be honest, in full fairness, even now sitting where I'm at, I'm not against it. I'm not against it. I feel like there's certain things like mushrooms, MDMA, when used appropriately in a microdosing situation, can be very beneficial to one's psyche, to one's
I'm
mental
very
health.
open minded as well. And
Yeah,
I didn't used to be like, and I think a lot of the reasons why I wasn't before this, when I joined TikTok in 2020 and being on TikTok opened my mind to so many different pathways to recovery. Even though I'm on Suboxone personally, I was raised up in the 12-step abstinence based recovery
right.
community. And so I came into the scene thinking that my recovery wasn't even valid because I'm on Suboxone, you know? And
Right.
so I was having to like learn from other people. And I'm the same way. I support plant medicine. I believe that psychedelics help people. I have friends that do psilocybin and they take like, I'm talking like micro doses, and they'll do like 3 days on, 2 days off, and it helps them with their mental health and depression. I have friends that do what's it called, ayahuasca or ibogaine. I have friends that do ketamine infusions, and I never would have been open to that before because I was only taught one way, which was
Right.
abstinence. You know?
Abstinence. Yeah. Yeah. And there's more ways. But again, in a controlled environment, the way we were doing it was getting out of hand. It just was. It didn't affect my life. Except for our relationship, though it really did affect that, because you're going to this big high and then you're going to this big down, you know what I mean? And it's so much easier than meth, even though it can be a little bit similar, because you can go to sleep on it, you can do all these things that you can't do on these other, stimulants. And it was, to be honest, I was doing it, and when I found out Angel was dealing with her addiction, and that's what made me stop doing it. It was just like, you just see this lifestyle. And even though we weren't in this lifestyle, right? This is a very wealthy person. He's not going to get this stuff from somebody on the street. Like, he's
Right.
dealing with top people. You know what I mean? Even
Yeah.
though it's a totally different situation, like, you're sitting there and you're looking at your kid and you're like, your kid's homeless on the streets of Chicago around all these suffering people that all look alike, and she looks like them. And it's all substance use related, and it's just, it honestly, it made me, it
It
made my
made you
stomach
change and
turn.
not do anything. And it made you
Yeah.
realize, like, maybe, and also, like, if you were going to her trying to help her and she knew, well, mom, you're still doing Molly. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? She's going to be like, you're a hypocrite.
Oh yeah, she
You know
never
what I
would.
mean?
Oh my god, she would have been like, hold up, you gotta be. She really would have. She would have been like, bitch, look, She's
Can
like, I
you
know you
share,
ain't.
tell us about what you and Angel's, how y'all's relationship was like as mother and daughter? Like, what kind of kid was she when she was growing up?
But when she was younger, so under age 11, she was always very good. She has always had issues. She got bullied in school, this and that, and the third. So we were always very close, to be honest, because she had trouble in school. We had to sit down and do homework, and so we both would just cry. And she would get bullied and come home and ask me why God made her stupid. Why does everybody hate her? We lived in a real small town. She had 7 people in her class, if that tells you anything. 80
Wow.
people, yes, 80 people in the school, kindergarten to 8th grade. So it got so bad, I actually moved her out, and I interviewed schools. And then she got on medicine for ADHD, and she flourished. She flourished. She did great. She was always a really good, she loved animals. She was funny. She was always a tomboy. I knew she was a lesbian before. I think she was probably 18 months old. I was like, oh, is she gay? Oh yeah, for sure. This
That's
one.
how I was
She
with
was
my
so
sister.
funny.
I knew
Yeah,
my
it was
sister was a
like,
lesbian before she even told us she was one.
yeah, I knew with both my kids, my son and my daughter, both at the same age. It's like, okay, okay, I see you. But yeah, she was such a tomboy. She loved the Ninja Turtles. Like for her birthday, she would have Batman cakes and Ninja Turtle cakes and anything. Boy, play with toys. She was always very fun loving, good kid. But after me and Danny got divorced, he remarried, I remarried. Something changed in Angel. And now we do know what it was, but back then we didn't know what it was. And her behavior just got outrageous. I mean, like Maury Povich. She was
What
coming after
happened?
us.
Was she being abused or something?
She was being abused. And a therapist of hers at one of the rehabs she was at right before she passed away, when she escaped the rehab and left for a couple of days, they told me what had happened, who she was sexually assaulted when she was a kid, and who it was, and it was another child.
Oh man.
Yeah, and I'd never known, and the therapist kept asking her, well, why aren't you going to tell your mom? Like, your mom's been trying to help you for years. I mean, years. This goes back to when she was 11. Like, had some major mental health issues, and she just said that there's no point now. There's nothing she can do about it. I don't want to hurt her. Um, back then, she said her behavior had gotten so out of hand that she thought either they wouldn't believe me or she was afraid of what I would do. Because, that's another thing. Parents really got to make sure that, like my kids are not afraid to come tell me something because they think I'm not going to believe them. My kids are afraid to come tell me something because they think I'm going to go to prison now. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's a fine line you have to walk. But either way you slice it, I never knew about it until right before she died. She didn't even know I knew. She didn't even know I knew because I couldn't have her not. There was only one way I was going to know. I had an idea because her ex had told me, but had told me something. But Angel never divulged enough information to people for us to know, okay, well, which kid? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I was able to. It's a therapist, and so I mean, it explains a lot, and it's crazy because when I say we went through a lot mental health wise, like Angel was put into residential for a year.
When
I
did
literally,
her mental health struggles start before she started abusing substances? And
oh
it
yeah,
so okay, my sister had bipolar when I was like 15 and she was like 12 or 13 into 14. And back then in the 90s, my mom and dad didn't know what to do. It was just you didn't talk about mental health like they do now. And so what was happening, and then what resources were available to help you guys? Were you able to get any?
none.
Yeah.
It's a shit show. Let me tell you what it's like to have a child with this severe of mental health behavioral problems in Illinois, at least my state. So SAS gets involved, right? So SAS, the police are there, your kid's acting crazy. Now, mind you, my daughter would come after us with butcher knives. Like I'm talking, this is severe.
Same.
Yeah.
Same. My
It
sister
would
would
take,
come after us to try and kill us, and my
yes,
mom and
that's what
dad
was
would have
going
to
on.
try to restrain her physically.
Yes.
So go ahead. I'm
So
going to shut up and
even
let you
it
share
would
with us.
take three grown men police to hog tie my 11-year-old girl. It was insane. But you have to call the police. The police call SAS if you have state insurance, right? So SAS comes. It's like a therapist saying whether or not they think they need to go to the mental institution, the behavioral hospital. So if so, then they go. They get admitted. It's a revolving door. It's a revolving door. It's basically a diffuser. They're not helping anything. They're not actually even doing anything in the facility to help them. They're going in there, they're getting drugged up. This is where I insist Angel's substance use disorder started, because they would shoot him up with what the kids call booty juice. And it's Ativan, I believe.
Yeah,
And
Ativan,
he
Halidol, and Thorazine. I got the Halidol and
yeah.
Thorazine juice.
Angel said she was getting high. She didn't even know she was getting high.
Yeah.
And before you knew it, she was like, oh, she would be like, hey, give me the booty. And a lot of times, depending with which hospital you were at, what staff you had, they just give it to you. Thank you. Okay, here you go. I mean,
Yep.
thank God I kept her only between two. I didn't have her all over the place because I wanted to keep track of paperwork. But when I tell you, Angel was institutionalized. She was in those mental hospitals more than she was at home. The one by my house, she was the longest standing resident there. And what you have to do is you have to follow the steps that the state says is what you got to do, right? Especially if you have state insurance, right? So you follow all these steps. You get to a point where DCFS gets involved right away. Immediately, DCFS is involved, and you now have DCFS in your life forever. What happens is she'll come home, and then it gets out of hand. You can't control it. The hospital at some point is going to say, we got to send her home. DCFS at one point is telling me, you cannot bring her home. It's too dangerous for the other kids.
Right.
And now you got a kid who's 13 in a hospital that is telling her, you have to come get her or you're going to have to lock her out, which is a negative dash on your parenting record. Okay. At this point, I had avoided locking her out. I don't know how. My life, just so you know, at this point was absolutely miserable. All of our children's lives, the whole household. I was married to their stepdad. It was bad. I can't even explain to you the level of bad that was going on. And where was I at, Nicole?
You're talking about how bad it had gotten with her fixing to get locked out of the hospital and them saying that she can't, CPS is saying she can't come home, but the hospital saying she has to.
Yes. And then, so you don't know what to do. So that happened. So I didn't know what to do. So I was like, well, I'm going to go pick her up because I had other kids to think about. We were not getting no negative dashes. So I told the hospital, okay, I'm just going to go get her. And then I called DCFS and I left a message, a voicemail for some supervisor. And I just told them that I'm going to pick her up and I'm going to bring her home because I'm not going to get a negative dash. And that when somebody gets hurt or killed, I'm going to sue the living shit out of you. That's just all I said. And then I hung up the phone. I tell you what, they called me within 20 minutes. And they told me to trust them. This is the first time I trusted them, and they didn't let me down this time. But this is the first and the last time I ever put faith like that in DCFS because it's not a good system.
I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, it's horrifying. But they were like, look, we're going to do a lockout. You're not going to go get her. You will do a lockout, but it's going to look like a lockout. It's going to appear like a lockout, but it's not going to go down on paper like a lockout. We will go into court tomorrow morning with you and we will be on your side. She has to get into a residential. This is the only way to do it. So basically I had to give up custody to the state of Illinois because in order to get your kid into residential, if you can't pay those hundreds of thousands of dollars and you're using your insurance, then that's what you have to do. Why? Why does it have to be like that? It doesn't. It doesn't have to be like that, but that's the way that it is set up. So next morning we went into court and DCFS did do what they said they were going to do. They were like, look, mom this is a medical situation. Yeah. So it didn't go down as a lockout. And she did get into a residential, but she was so violent at that point that after we did the lockout and she was over in the state's ward of the state, no residential would take her because she was too violent. That's something that DCFS did not tell me was going to happen. Yeah. And they were wanting to ship her out of state to residentials that were out of state, and we wouldn't allow it. So she ended up in one that was more like a group home. But she did click with a therapist there very well. So that's a good thing that came out because that was very helpful. So y'all's experience is just like my family's experience with my baby sister, Michelle. My parents, they were going to get in trouble by the state of Arkansas if they didn't FINS petition my sister, which was basically getting the state to take custody of her so the state could put her in juvenile jail. And my mom was like a teacher working at a school for kids with developmental delays. My dad was a postmaster at the post office. They actually, my parents actually had good insurance, but it's still, even with good insurance, this is the way it was going. And my sister was so out of control, and same situation, in and out of residential group homes.
mental health facilities, juvenile jail, until she started her substance abuse journey. My sister also struggled with addiction as well. And so, when did Angel start abusing substances? Do you think it was like, did she meet somebody in one of those places that kind of introduced her? Or was
I
it the
mean,
Ativan that kind of got her started? Because when they come out of there, they're so drugged up on all these different, like, Seroquels,
no, she was on 1,000
Remeron,
milligrams, a
Librium.
thousand milligrams of Seroquel. They had
Yeah,
her on at age 11. So
yeah,
yeah, I mean, I believe she had, yeah, I stand 10 toes down on that. I believe it started when she was in and out of these hospitals. How could it have not? They've
yeah,
had her drugged up on so many drugs. How the hell are you supposed to turn around one day and just not function with all these drugs that you've been getting high off of for years and didn't even know because you're 11 years old? You just
yeah,
know that you want more of that you don't mind the way that makes you feel. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're not
yeah.
comprehending what's going on. And then, I mean, she started using hard illicit drugs when she was 17, I believe. I don't really know how or with who. I mean, I don't even know how I even found out. It's like everything happened so fast. It just did. It's like one day
She
life
was
was
so, she
normal.
had just turned, what, 20 or 21 when she passed away, right?
She had just turned 20 years old,
20 years old.
2 months. So she was 20 years old and 2 months to the day that she passed away.
So she was just a baby. Like, she wasn't even.
She didn't even have a license. She barely had a job. I mean, she's had jobs here and there, but nothing, you know what I mean? Things like that. Yeah, she didn't do anything because most of the years, if you think about it, I mean, because of her behavioral issues and what was going on with that, she was institutionalized for most of her childhood. 11
Yeah.
to she was at an hospitalized more than she wasn't, or then she was in residential for a year. You know what I mean? So, and then after residential, right before her addiction started, me and her didn't talk very often. Like, things were very tense. Things were very, very not good. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, you after a while you get sick of the shit. Like, you get sick of
Yeah.
somebody coming into your house, stealing all your stuff all the time. You know what I mean? Even before her addiction started, this was our reality, basically.
Right, because
As
she
she
was having
grew,
problems with behavior. So
yes.
it was like she was all, you were already going through her acting out, running away from home, taking things. Then she added substances on top of that, and that probably just made it
It
even
like
worse.
turned, it flipped. It's like all of a sudden one day there was no behavioral issues. She had no more anger. She wasn't anything like that. She was somewhat acting okay. I would hear that she was using drugs, but I didn't see it. Like, I'd look at her and I didn't really see it until it was undeniable.
Yeah, so it
But
got
it
too
just
late.
happened so fast. It really did. It just happened so fast. Yeah.
Well, you know what? I hear you talking about all the things that your family and that you guys did to try and help Angel. And there's a lot of families that don't even, they're in the same situation y'all were in. They don't even know where to begin to try and start getting help for their kids. Like, I get messages every single day from adolescent children, little kids, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I got a message from a little boy on Instagram, 15 years old, in a DCFS group home. His dad is in prison, his mom passed away, and he's addicted to methamphetamine,
Oh my
and he
God.
wants to stop. And I'm just like, there's not any help. There's no help anywhere for anybody. And then when you, and I hate to say this, but then when you do get the help, it's really not really good help. Like, going into a rehab where they're telling you that you have to pray and meditate, read the big book, work the 12 steps, call your sponsor, a sponsor who's just another drug addict just like you, who
Yeah.
doesn't have any kind of mental health training or is not trauma informed or anything like that. And then you get into situations where you're preyed on by these kind of people who are 13th stepping you and trying to hook up with you. And so it's just so unfortunate because there's really not a lot of help available or good help available to anybody. And it's a miracle when anybody can get sober and turn their life around, you know?
Yeah, honestly, there's not, I mean, even going back to when I suffered my own addiction, when my husband, the kid's dad, when he was ready to get sober, we brought him into the doctor, our doctor that we had for years, and we're like, hey, he's makes meth, does meth, he wants to get clean. And she was like, It's a 95% failure rate. She's like, he doesn't need to go to rehab. It's pointless. If he really wants to be clean, go home. She's like, go home, lay on the couch, sleep it off. If you got to sleep for a year, sleep for a year. Do what you got to do. Just eat, sleep, and that's the only thing you can do. And that's what he did too. That's literally what he did.
It Somebody else made a video on TikTok about this the other day. They were talking about how it was a doctor or something I saw. He was talking about how there's so much help for those of us that have alcohol or opiate addiction with Suboxone, Sublocade, Vivitrol. I think Antabuse is another one, Contrave. And you can use all these medications for alcohol and opioids, but there's really not any help for people that struggle with stimulant addiction. I think I have seen that there's like some doctors that will prescribe this medication called modafinil to people, but like, I don't know. I haven't met any doctors that are really willing to do that here where I'm at, because I've always looked for a doctor, because that's the one drug, methamphetamine is the one drug that I still crave after all these years of being away from it.
See, I smell it. I can taste it once in a while, but I don't have that. God has blessed me. It had to have been God. And I don't know.
Yeah, he lifted it from you.
But he really did. Like, I don't have that urge. I haven't had that urge in forever. Like, I've had people offer me cocaine. I can't even watch it on TV. Actually, it makes me gag. It's crazy. It's crazy. It is. It's
I can totally understand that though, like, because it would make me gag doing it.
It does. I mean, and to be honest, like, I still have a pill of Molly. My kids better not say in my room, because just as a reminder, like, no, you know what I mean? And it's never one time been like, when I see it, I'm always like, I forgot you still have that.
I think that you going through losing Angel has also really imprinted onto your life to know that, like, messing around with substances can ruin you. And losing Angel, I feel like, is such a big, like, it's a huge,
such a quick downfall.
Can you share with us a little bit? So, okay, I remember Angel getting on Suboxone. I remember her getting on Suboxone. I remember she was doing good on Suboxone, but then I remember there was a shift where she was getting into a sober living. And I don't know if the sober living wasn't allowing it or what, but I remember her getting off the Suboxone. And I was just like, why? Why is she getting off of Suboxone?
Yeah, and I didn't want her to either. I mean, me and her, I was like, what are you doing? And she weaned herself off. And I don't think that I think it was okay that she had it at the sober living home, but I think it was always hard for us to get it, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah, it makes complete sense.
It was always like trying to jump through hoops. And I think she was frustrated with that. And she just wanted everything to be, and I think she thought she could do it. And would it have, so she didn't die from, she didn't have heroin or fentanyl in her system.
Right. I remember it was cocaine, right?
It was cocaine. It was intoxication, overdose by intoxication of cocaine. Her respiratory system, or her heart, everything, gave out. So I think Angel truly thought I think she was okay on the heroin end. Do you know what I mean? Like, so crack was her drug of choice. She was addicted to heroin by default. She ended up dating somebody who was very addicted to heroin, and she's, next thing you knew, Angel's using it with her. Next thing you know, she's shooting her up. She couldn't even do it herself. She needed her partner there to do it for her. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But then Angel got so bad at some point, she figured it out and didn't need her partner anymore. And that was probably the last 6 months before she got into rehab.
So basically cocaine, that I remember you making a video about when her autopsy, when all the results came back. I don't know if it was an autopsy, but it was the results from the police or whatever, and them saying it was cocaine toxicity or cocaine intoxication.
Yeah.
That means basically that her heart gave out, right? Like it just couldn't take it anymore.
And her heart was so bad from the blood infection she had got when she was 18. She had almost died from using dirty needles, and she got a very bad blood infection. They told us she wasn't going to live past 40. If she lived a completely outrageously healthy life from this point on, she was not going to live till 40 at that point. So she had some serious damage to her body, and it just, I think that when she left that day, like I think she truly felt like she had kicked her heroin addiction. And I think
Yeah.
that she felt that because me and her had this conversation, we actually got into an argument. I made a TikTok video about it. She was like, I can't believe you made that TikTok video. I was like, how do I tell her crack is whack? Because she was talking like she's gonna dabble in crack here and there. And I'm like, you can't
Right.
just
Like
go,
you could just dabble in crack.
yeah, like you could just go wake up on a Tuesday, go do crack, go to work on Wednesday morning. Like I was like, Angel, this is not how that works. Like, what is wrong with you? She was so then I thought she got over that, but apparently not. And I truly, when I got those results back that there was no heroin or fentanyl in her system, which how crazy is it that she got clean dope in the first place?
I
I was
know.
like, I was like, how did you even do that? But I truly believe that she thought she was just gonna go on a bender for a couple days doing some crack, that it was risky, yeah, but I don't think she thought there was any risk of overdosing.
I
That
don't
that
think
like
she thought that either at
I
all.
don't think she realized that her body could I don't think she even realized that her body could shut
Could give
down.
out
Like,
like that.
yeah, like that, like
Because
this is
honestly,
just where we were
I've never really seen it. I mean, I've heard of that happening, but seldom. Like, every time you hear of somebody dying, it's from fentanyl nowadays,
Yeah.
or it's from polypharmacy, like multiple substances mixed together. And
Yes.
so that just being cocaine intoxication, I was just like, wow. That means she must have been doing like some bangers and just busted her heart wide open. She
Yeah.
probably didn't even, it probably happened so fast that she wasn't even aware of it because it
No,
just
I mean
happened.
I hope so.
100%. 100%. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm kind of getting graphic, aren't I? I shouldn't be. I don't mean to
No,
say
it's
that.
okay. No, it's okay.
You
I mean,
know,
I hope so. I hope I mean, she was still alive uh when they brought her to the hospital. She was brain dead because there was no, from how she was when they got to the hotel room to how she was when she got to the hospital to when I got there was no change. So when I got there, they did a brain test about an hour later, and she was completely brain dead. So she definitely been in there for a while, but she was still hanging on. She was still
learn
hanging on.
going through this experience and losing your daughter to an overdose. What, like, I don't know, like how has this impacted your life, and what has it made you? How do you handle addiction differently? Like, I know that I've been watching your account, how I've been seeing you having more of an open mind towards, like you said, harm reduction and supporting all pathways. And you've always been a supportive of all pathways, but I just feel like you are even more now. And so, how has that changed your life? Losing Angel, what has come from that?
Yeah, I mean, I had started becoming, I mean, I utilized tough love for a while until it didn't work, right? And
That's
then,
what I wanted to say. The tough love.
yeah,
'Cause
you
and
know,
I know you and Brandy Mack are really close friends. And she has also had a 100% went from the tough love to now that's like she's not for that. So
yeah.
tell us
And I
about
feel
that.
like since Angel died, she's really done a 182. It's just something about when it hits close to home like that. And
Yeah,
that's what it is. It's like, when I started seeing that she was truly going to die, like I knew this was going to happen. Like you don't want to think these things, you don't want to say these things because you don't want to put it into the universe like that. Our words have power to them, but only I have seen her in the state she was in. Not even my children, because it's only me that was bathing her in a shower, seeing her naked. Do you know what I mean? It was me that truly saw the condition that she was in, and I knew that if she did not stay sober, this was going to end badly. Um, yeah. And at some
sorry.
point,
It
you
gets
just
me
gotta.
emotional because
I know it's
you
it's.
and my mom was the same exact way. When I would go to my mom's house, I would be in psychosis, and she would brush my hair, and I would be talking to myself, talking to people that weren't there. And my mom would say, she would always sing this song to me, Sana, Sana, Sana. I don't speak Spanish, but my mom does. And she would sing this song to me and then brush my hair. And I would be talking to people that weren't there. I would think that I was in an alternate reality. I mean, just out there. And I can just imagine that you were the same way with Angel. Like, she probably knew she could go to you when she was the craziest, looking crazy and at her worst, and she could go be at the house and be safe with her family, with you, with her mom.
Yeah.
So it breaks my heart to I feel like she didn't really have an opportunity to even really get any kind of good help. She started out at such a young age struggling with her mental health, then getting addicted to drugs, not feeling like she had a place in the world, and then, it just kind of like snowballed.
Statistically, this is what was bound to happen. Statistically, unfortunately, if there was ever a crack for Angel to fall through, she's fallen through them. If cracks weren't there, they were made, and they were put there. It's really, it's unbelievable.
How did your attitude, tell us about your transition from the tough love perspective to where you are at now with not, tell us about that. Because I have seen, like I said, such a drastic change in Brandy, and I see it trickling over. You've also changed in that way, I feel like. So
yeah,
tell us about why we don't, and I think tough love is just bullshit also, but explain to people why we think this way now.
So the reason I think this way now is because I just started seeing that tough love wasn't working. The more I used tough love, the more she was not going to contact me. She stayed away. First of all, she did not want me to worry. She didn't want me freaked out. She didn't want me upset. She didn't want to deal with it. It just was not working. And every time she came back, she was worse and worse and worse. And I knew she was going to die. And at some point, you have to look at the greater good. Like, if doing something you may not be okay with or you may not agree with is going to benefit your child and you for the greater good, then why aren't you doing it? At the end of the day, you have to do what you can live with. I when it comes to that, I sleep soundly. I did everything there that she asked me to do. I tried. And now I'm so even more open about your pathway to recovery, because who am I to tell you that it's wrong? If something is going to save your life, if something is going to make you live a functioning life, be able to be a parent, go to work, be healthy, take care of your children, succeed, then do that. Then absolutely do that. Sobriety is not linear. It's just not. It's not black and white. It's very broad. And at the end of the day, if you end up burying your kid, because the chances are very high, the drugs that are around these days, like, they are no joke. This is not the drugs from when I was 20. And if something happens to your kid, you're the one that's going to have to deal with feeling like you did everything you could or you didn't do everything you could. I purchased heroin for my daughter. I let my daughter bring the heroin to my house, and she shot up in the bathroom whenever she needed it. And I didn't want to do that. But she wasn't going to come home that day, and unless she could use until she could get into detox, because it was right. So
she would be sick.
Yeah, and she wasn't going to come home. And the only reason she came home that day and got into detox and then stayed into rehab for 8 months, is because I allowed her to come home and use until she could get into detox so that she wasn't feeling sick at all. And she had been asking me to do that for months, and I wouldn't. And had I done it when she first asked me to, that would have been even more months. She would have been.
And there's ways you can support your loved one in this situation and make them safe. So you have Narcan at the house.
Yes, that's what we did.
You get them a clean. This is like harm reduction 101.
Yes.
You make sure they have clean syringes, clean everything, and then the Narcan, and then you supervise to make sure that if they do have an overdose,
never left alone.
Yeah.
In fact, she said she would only use what she needed, right? So she must have, because she still had some left when it was time to go to detox, right? But there was somebody
she probably didn't want to do it all fucked up and get all fucking crazy in front of you. She was just trying to manage until she could get into the detox center.
Exactly. And she literally slept on my couch the whole time.
Think about all the families out there who their kids, they're struggling. They're sick as a dog. They are withdrawing, and they say, like, you can't come home unless you go to detox and you go to rehab and this and that. And then their kids end up dying on the streets of wherever, all alone. Nobody knows who they are. They can't identify them. And and it's all because of this like mentality that has been drilled into their heads by these 12-step rehab facilities, evidence, like not evidence-based, abstinence-based rehab facilities, who at the end of the day are making so much money off of your loved ones from their insurance policies or whatever is paying them, right?
They're banking on your failure.
Yeah, they want you, and the more you fail, the more you filter into these places over and over again, over and over and over again. And if you could just get your kid to come home, be in a comfortable setting, even if they're still using, like I said, keep the Narcan around, monitor them, keep them safe, and then they agree to go into getting help, like, damn! Like, think about how many people would get help if their parents would just, like, let up on them a little bit, you know?
Yeah. No, for real. She always knew that she could come home. She just had to get in the detox or rehab. It was so known that it was never even a question. Like, if she called me and she'd want me to pick her up, she had to get right into detox. So she was real good with that. She respected it.
Yeah. Somebody in the comment section said, I would have gotten help sooner if I had support. Yeah. And like alienating your loved ones from you, isolating them, telling them that you're, not going to support them until they quit.
Yes, we wouldn't do that to anybody that has any other mental health issue at all. You would never tell somebody, I work in the mental health field now. So you would never tell anybody that has schizophrenia this. You would never tell anybody that has BPD this. You would never tell anybody that is suffering highly from bipolar this. Like, you would never isolate them and be like, that's the answer. We should make them suffer alone in silence, and until they can figure out how not to be delusional anymore, then they can come home. When you figure out how to control your delusions, Bobby, you can come home. Like, you wouldn't do that for anything.
You know who I've been watching a lot on TikTok who has been speaking to the choir is the Sarah, the better Sarah.
Oh, I love her.
She has been laying it down.
So actually, to be honest, she has a lot to do with me being more open-minded. I have learned a lot from her. She's still a lot more open-minded than me. I'm not going to lie. I think she's like on the extreme.
Yeah.
Like, I'm an empath. She's like the highest of the high of the high of the empath.
I 100% agree. I agree. But I'm the same. She's taught me so much. And she actually made a video just the other day, and she was saying that, so you had a car wreck and you need to go to the hospital? Sorry, you have to lay here and bleed out on the side of the road until you know that getting in that car and driving that car, you shouldn't have done that. Do you realize that? And I was like, oh my God, that's exactly what we do to people that struggle with drug addiction.
Yes, it is. That's
because drug addiction is still looked at as a moral failing. Like,
yes. And is that the reason you're utilizing self-love and you're not allowing your kid to come home? Or like, are you underlyingly ashamed of it? Because it's not a fun sight. It is not. You just picture your most suffering homeless person on the side of the road that hasn't showered in a month and is so filthy dirty. Just picture that. And that is what my daughter looks like. I mean, when we would go to pick her up, you could literally smell her, like, before she ever got anywhere near the car. Like, I would literally always look at one of my kids, whichever boy was with me, and give them that look with my eyes, like, if you fucking say one word, I'm gonna kill you. And they would, they just look at me. And you know what? We never said anything to her about it. At least I
bet your kids are probably the sweetest, most kind children in the world because they saw their sister going through that.
Yeah, my kids are jerks, some of them. The boys, they got.
I don't believe it. I believe that they are probably so sweet.
Heart. Yeah. They got a good heart. I mean, I feel like I mean, it was a traumatic situation, that being said. Do you know what I mean? So, like, yes, they have good hearts, and they definitely have a lot more empathy, I'm sure, for people that suffer like this. Their views are not always aligned with mine. Do you know what
Yeah,
I mean?
I understand because they probably got hurt and they probably saw a lot of stuff that they didn't need to see, and so that makes them upset and they think, oh well, those people just need to straighten up their lives. I have seen like there's like a subset of people on TikTok who are like children of addicts or
Okay.
brothers and sisters of addicts, and they're very angry, they're very
Yeah, there's
resentful.
so much anger on even in this platform as a parent. I don't jive with that. Like, I don't understand it. The reason I don't understand it is because when I was dealing with my daughter's substance use disorder, I had to let go of the anger in order to effectively help her. So when I see parents who are still so angry, like even after their child died of the substance use disorder, I went to one grief meeting over the phone, a counseling grief thing. Never again. I went to one over the phone, and there was only a couple of people there. And the one lady that talked was so angry, the way she spoke about it and her child, and the child had died. It was like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And she was still that angry. And I'm sitting there, and Angel had died 6 months ago, and I was like, not an ounce of anger. And she was like, I don't understand how you're not angry. And I was like, I don't understand how you are.
Yeah, anger is only going to hurt you. You know what I mean? Angel was such a character, just like such a special girl, and she was so different and unique in her own way. Like that should be celebrated. And instead of being angry at her for the things that she struggled with, like we all struggle with something. Everyone has something that they struggle with.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not a drug addiction, but mental health. Maybe it's gambling. Maybe it's drinking too much. Like everybody has something that they're going through, right? Nobody is perfect.
Exactly. And I don't look at it as Angel's fault. Okay, so once
It's
I
not.
let go of my anger, that a lot of things came with that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't see this as Angel's fault. I'm aware enough to understand that unfortunately Angel was handed just a lot of shitty cards in life. And I do believe that Angel has had a purpose, that I have a purpose, that Angel has a purpose, that God has prepared a purpose for us both, and that this, unfortunately, is part of our purpose together. And things are happening the way they're happening because that's just the way it's supposed to be. Whether or not I understand that or not, or I accept it, is different. But to understand that my daughter had the life she had, not to any fault of hers. And a huge part of it has to do with the fact that she had purpose. She had a purpose with all of that. And I don't blame her for anything that went on. You know, I blame our systems, our society, you know, everything's a loophole.
Yeah. So what are you doing now? Because I know I saw your TikTok about your YouTube. So share with us what your plans are for YouTube and what you're trying to accomplish. So that way we will all know. And I need you to send me the links to your YouTube channel. I have your TikTok link, but to any social medias that you want me to share, because I want to link them below this video and in the comment section for anybody else that wants to follow you. So what's the goal? What are we working towards now?
Okay, so I advocate for substance use disorder and to end the stigma on my TikTok platform. I have since Angel was alive, and I continue to do that. I just want to help people that look like me, parents. I want to help them stop using tough love. Anything I can do to encourage a parent that is dealing with a child that looked like my daughter and had the same struggles, I would like for them to learn how not to use tough love and enable love. Any kids out there, or young adults, older adults, whoever, that resembled my daughter, I would like for them to see that there are other ways out. And the stigma can be broken if we just allow it to be. And I would like to move that onto my YouTube. I've had it for a little bit, but I've just recently started posting same thing on there, just to raise awareness. I think it's important that this word gets spread out through more than one platform, not just TikTok. The more you can reach, the better. This is affecting so many people. There's schools out here that still just deny that it's going on. You know, you're in a day and age where kids think they're taking a Xanax and they're taking fentanyl and dropping dead.
Yep.
You know, I mean, it's absolutely insane. I live in Illinois, and our law, or our governor now, just put into effect immediately, August 4th, I think he put into effect, that all Illinois schools now have to educate about fentanyl drug education, specifically fentanyl, and grades 9 through 12 will be assessed on it. So my purpose in life is just to continue spreading the word.
I think that you could start when I started my YouTube channel, I started like live streaming a lot over there. This was back in 2017, 2018. And I created like a live stream schedule where I would have like kind of like meetings for people that were like me, addicts and alcoholics, and trying to get sober. I think it would be so cool if you had like a meeting for parents. You know what I mean?
Great
And
idea,
sharing
actually.
I mean, I don't know if you would want to do it with a partner, but I always think that you and Brandy are like such a great team together. You being on one side of it because you have had the experience with losing your loved one, her on the other side of it having the loved one who was on MAT, you know, and in recovery and pregnant now. And y'all could have like a group, a weekly or bi-weekly group live where all parents are invited. Y'all send out like a monthly email blast to all the people who sign up through your link and it doesn't have to cost anything unless y'all want it to cost, you know, that's up to y'all. But like I would live stream on YouTube, and they would do so well, especially now because YouTube is pushing vertical live streams. Like you could go live on there vertically and have 400 people in a live, and build your channel really quickly like that. But anyway, I have a lot of ideas about social media stuff that I'll send to you privately, I guess I can say. I just really appreciate you coming on and sharing about your experience with addiction, Angel's experience. I've followed you for like 3 years now, I think, almost 4 years. And I
loved you. She was so excited when she found out that you followed me. She was like, I love Nicole.
That means so much to me. You have no idea. Like, and I will never get over it because like I just want people to know that I'm just a regular person. I just have such a heart to help people. And I have been dealing with so many trolls online for so many years, especially from TikTok, trying to like smear my freaking name and lie on me, say things like I'm a body broker when I don't work for a rehab. I don't put people in treatment. That's not what I do. Like everything that I do online is completely from just me. I do it on my own. I'm not getting paid to do it by anybody, but I could talk to you about that later on privately. But when you told me that about Angel and I reached out to her and we got to talk on the phone, it was just this, I will never get over those experiences when I reach out to somebody and they're like, I can't believe I'm talking to you on the phone. You know, like I'm somebody special or something.
I'm just a regular old person.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh.
It meant a lot to me to even be in her life and to try and help the little bit that I was able to try and help. It meant a lot to me. And so it meant a lot to me that she trusted me to reach out to her and to try and be, of service to her in any way that I could. Because like I said, there's so many people online in this community who are doing things because they just want to benefit from your child's vulnerability, whether it be their insurance policy, whether it be your money. And so I just appreciate you trusting me to reach out to her because I would never, ever do anything to jeopardize anybody who reaches out to me to help their loved ones. It's always just me trying to do the best I can with what the resources that I have available, which is just me, like going on Google and looking up places and calling my friends that work in treatment. But like, I just really appreciate you trusting me for real.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you coming on. I'm sorry I got emotional. I always get emotional, especially when we talk about stuff like, addiction and people that I care about or people that have lost their battle to addiction. Before I let you go, I want you to sit back and just think that there's somebody that's watching this live stream right now who is still using substances, who thinks that they can't accomplish recovery. What are some things that you would say to encourage somebody that's watching this live who doesn't feel like they can ever change their life? What's something that you would say to them?
You can change your life. You can absolutely do it. You can go within yourself and you can do, if I can sit here, you could have seen me 20 years ago, you would have no idea, honey. You'd be like, what? Yes, you can absolutely do it. You can do, there's so many pathways to recovery. Find your tribe. Find your tribe. Find your people that are going to help you do what is best for you, that are going to accept whatever type of recovery you feel that you need. And you can absolutely do this. Life gets so much better once you get over the first few humps. I promise you so much.
100%. And I like the fact that you said, find your tribe, find what works for you, find people who lift you up on your journey. You don't need judgment. You don't need people telling you what you're doing for you isn't working, or they just don't believe in it, or they don't support it because it's not their opinion. Like, at the end of the day, no one else has to live in your life. The person who's judging you for smoking marijuana still, or utilizing MAT, or being religious and praying to God to get off drugs, the person who's judging you for taking that path, they are not going to show up on your doorstep when you're overdosing and dying, when your loved one is in the hospital. They're not going to be the one who's going to pay the bill for any kind of hospital bills. They will not be there. You are going to be on your own.
And
so find what works for you.
Help you during that recovery that they're judging about. They're not going to be there to help or to not help. Either way.
I had to learn the hard way to tune out all the extra noise. So anyway, I don't want to hold you hostage because I could keep you on here for 2 hours. I really appreciate you coming on. Please text me the link to your YouTube channel, okay?
Okay, I'll do that right now.
All right. I love you, girl. I'll talk to you later.
Love you too. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.
I held her hostage for 1 hour and 15 minutes, y'all. I'm so bad at I could keep talking. I have so much more I could talk to Melissa about. Sorry, I got a little emotional there, you guys. Like, Angel was very special. And when her mom told me how excited she was that we were following each other, and that I commented on a video about her, and then I was able to get on the phone with her and call her, it meant a lot to me. And I want you guys to know that my social media platforms, they're growing, and I'm trying my best to get to all of you guys who reach out to me. And I want you to know that it means a lot to me. Every single one of you guys that support my platforms, all 136,000 of you that are here on this Facebook account, like, it means a lot to me that you clicked follow and that you are supporting my journey in recovery. I love you and I appreciate you. And I just want y'all to know that it's not something that I take lightly. It's not something that I think is like, oh, not a big deal. It's a huge deal to me. It's a huge, huge deal to me. So I hope you guys enjoyed hearing Melissa's story and Angel's story. Rest in peace, Angel. We love you so much. I know you were up there kicking it, eating chicken wings with strippers, living the best life. And if y'all don't know what I'm talking about, Angel told her mama, don't put me on one of those RIP shirts. You better put me on a shirt with photoshopped with strippers and chicken wings. And so her mama sure did. Photoshopped her and got her on a t-shirt with strippers and chicken wings. So if y'all do not follow Melissa on TikTok and on YouTube, I'm going to link all her social media accounts down below. Make sure you give her a follow. Thank you, each and every one of you guys who have came and listened to this live stream today. Thank you for being open-minded. Thank you for supporting multiple pathways. And remember, no matter what, if you're struggling, you can change your life. Like Melissa said, find your tribe. Find what works for you. Dig deep and focus on that. All right. Okay, guys, I'll see y'all in a couple days. I got another guest coming on, and I will let y'all know who that's going to be in a couple days, and then we will go from there. All right. Love y'all. Good night.